Here we are now and it's crazy how my flaws down to your baby alive.
Yo, what's up everyone, it's Blue Nova and I'm back with a new video on how to get the vocal quality for Giveon in the song in the Bible. If you guys are new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell notification icon so that you're notified every time there's a new video. So I was getting a lot of DMs and emails and just a lot of requests just to make this preset available in Waves plugins. So for everybody who wants to just get this entire preset, you can just go to bluenovabeats.com, go to the store, click on the vocal presets tab, and it'll be there. What I wanted to do was just to format pitch the vocals, but I decided I'm just gonna put a link in the description for everybody to check out the last video I did with it, just because redoing the whole process would just eat up a lot of time. So let's go ahead and jump into the actual tutorial for this. So right here we had the lead vocal, and this was gonna sound like raw.
Been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside, but you're tainted every time that I'm there.
So the first thing we're going to do in our processing, we're going to use the Waves de-esser.
Been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside.
Next up, we're going to use the REQ6 to roll off some low end and also boost the high end in it.
Been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside, but you're tainted every time that I'm there.
Next up, we're going to use H-comp as a compressor for the vocals.
Been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside, but you're tainted every time that I'm there.
Next up, we're going to use an L1 limiter to just basically level out the vocals.
Been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside, but you're tainted every time that I'm there.
Next up, we're going to use the F6 RTA by Waves, and what we're going to do is roll off some of the low end just to get out any muddiness, and also roll off some of the high end in the vocal. What we're also going to do is use a dynamic EQ, so any low end in the vocal that I really didn't like, which is around the 250 range, I'm basically having the dynamic EQ to push down when that specific frequency hits. So this is what it sounds like.
Been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside, but you're tainted every time that I'm there.
Next up, we have another de-esser, and what I'm just doing, just taking out the sibilants in the vocals.
Been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside, but you're tainted every time that I'm there.
And the very last thing on this chain is just having sibilants live. Sibilants live is something I just like to do to tame the sibilants and vocals a little bit more. The de-esser by Waves does a great job already, but this really just takes care of some of the frequencies in there that are kind of hurting my ears a little bit. So this is what we're using. This is what it sounds like.
Been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside, but you're tainted every time that I'm there.
The very last thing on the lead vocal will be reverb, and this will just add some nice reverb onto it, similar to Giveon. So this is what it'll sound like.
Been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside, but you're tainted every time that I'm there.
So now that we have that for the lead vocal, the next thing is just to work on the ad-lib section. I mentioned before that I had a video to where I showed you guys how to use a format shifting with M-Auto Pitch, and you can use any format shifting plugin. It doesn't have to be M-Auto Pitch. M-Auto Pitch is just a free plugin that anybody could download online. So I'll put that link for everybody to check out, but we're going to get into the actual processing of this. So for the ad-lib section, we're going to use the same thing that we had on the lead vocal. So let's go ahead and turn that on. So this will be the same as the lead vocal, and I'm just gonna let you guys hear it with the format shifting on it and also with the processing.
You've been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside, but you're tainted every time that I'm there.
All right, so cool. The first thing we're gonna have on our major effects list is having a distortion plugin. So I decided to use Overdrive by Waves, and this is what it'll sound like.
You've been on my mind. short. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl is short. But you're tainted every time that I'm there.
Next up, we're going to use an REQ6 to roll off the high end of the distorted vocal and then roll off some low end as well. So this is what it'll sound like.
You've been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl is short. But you're tainted every time that I'm there.
Next up, we're going to use the R-verb just to add some reverb to the vocals.
You've been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl is short. But you're tainted every time that I'm there.
Next up, we're going to use H delay.
You've been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl is short. But you're tainted every time that I'm there.
And the very last thing, just adding a doubler for stereo by waves, and this adds basically a doubler or widener to the vocals to give it that wide feel.
You've been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl is short. But you're tainted every time that I'm there.
Then Giveon also had some other set of ad-libs that are just very short and simple. So this is what it sounds like.
A good girl inside. Tainted, yeah.
So what you pretty much want to have is the same as the other set of ad-libs that we created before. But the REQ6, we're just going to roll off a little bit more of the low end and bring up the cut that we had on the high frequency of the EQ. So that way we can hear a little bit more of the presence in the vocals. And that's something I noticed that Giveon had did. But that's pretty much what you want to have. So playing everything all together, this is what it sounds like.
You've been on my mind. We've been spending time, but I'm scared. A good girl inside. But you're tainted every time that I'm there. Here we are now.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and put a thumbs up. Put in the comment section what you all want to see next. If you need your song mixed and mastered, just go to bluenovabeats.com and go to the contact form on the very bottom of the page and send me a message there. And like I said, this preset is available. Just go to the store and it's just right there for everybody to get. But I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch everyone on the next video.
Here we are now, and it's crazy how my flies down to your baby alive. You trust. I'm not what you think.